Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your Monday Night Raw post show, man. And there is a lot to talk about in today's episode. We hear from none other than the World Heavyweight Champion, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. We also have qualifying matches, but we have first round King of the Ring tournament matches for both the men and the women also kicking off on Monday Night Raw. We also hear from the newly crowned Women's Intercontinental Champion, Sol Ruca. We got Rey Mysterio in action with Dragon Lee taking on Ethan Page and Rusev. We'll talk about that in today's episode as well. And we also have Seth Rollins taking on the Vision's Braun Breaker. And we'll talk all about that in today's episode, man. But let's start off tonight. We hear from none other than the World Heavyweight Champion, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. Roman comes out to the ring with the Usos. He gets a huge ovation from the crowd. Roman then asks the fans to acknowledge him. Roman says he's been waiting for this day for a very long time, and that there is no day like Acknowledgement Day. Jay asks, "Where's Fatu?" He's already late on the job. After that, Roman and the Usos are interrupted by Jacob Fatu. Fatu comes down to the ring. Roman says, "You know what time it is." Fatu and Jay get face to face, and Fatu grabs the mic from Jay. Roman says, "Jacob, I'm over here." Fatu says at Tribal Combat he knew what he was getting himself into. Fatu says he knew what it meant if he lost. Fatu says he took losses all of his life, and those losses brought him to the WWE. Fatu says his family saw a man take a loss and kept his word. Fatu says last night he lost to his tribal chief. Fatu, though, says he didn't lose to Jay's punk ass. Fatu and Jay then get face to face. Fatu says, though, he acknowledges Roman. Fatu then kneels down in front of Roman and acknowledges him. Roman says, "You don't understand right now," but Roman says to Fatu, "I love you." Fatu then raises his hand with the Usos, acknowledging Roman Reigns. And we'll talk more about Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns at the end of today's episode. Moving on from that, though, we go into our first official match of the night, kicking off the King of the Ring tournament in the men's bracket in the first round. It's a fatal four-way matchup. It is Intercontinental Champion Penta taking on Carmelo Hayes versus Solo Sikoa and Oba Femi. Now, the match itself, it was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup with Oba attacking everyone before the ring even bells, or the ring even, goes off. The bell ring goes off. Oba then was keeping the pace of the match. Hayes hits a springboard leg drop for a near fall. Hayes then hits a super kick on Penta. Tala Tonga, who was ringside during this matchup, and Oba have a stare down on the outside. Oba then hits a chokeslam on Carmelo Hayes and Penta in the middle of the ring. Penta and Hayes that both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Solo hitting a hip attack on Penta in the corner. Hayes then hits a first 48 on Oba. Solo and Tala send Oba into the post on the outside. Tala Tonga then hits a big boot on Oba, sending Oba over the barricade. Penta then hits a Penta driver in the middle of the ring for a near fall. Solo then was in the ring, looks to the outside, and spots Oba Femi. Oba then attacks Tala. Oba then launches Tala over the announce table. Oba then gets in the ring, launches Solo across the ring. And then Oba hits a fall from grace on Solo Sikoa, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament is Oba Femi. After the match, Oba grabs a microphone. Oba says Brock Lesnar asked if I could take an ass whooping. Oba says, "Well, I'm still standing and I'm winning." Oba says he will be King of the Ring. Oba also says that don't forget the score is 1-1. And Oba says that he will see Lesnar again real soon. We'll talk more about this at the end of today's episode. Moving on from that, we hear from newly crowned Women's Intercontinental Champion Sol Ruca. Sol Ruca comes out to the ring, grabs a microphone. Solo says that this has been a dream come true, and that she always believed that she would be a champion. Sol then thanks the fans. She also gives props to Becky Lynch, but also mocks Becky Lynch. And Sol says that she is going to be a fighting champion. Some interesting stuff there from Sol Ruka. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's a tag team matchup. It is Rey Mysterio teaming up with Dragon Lee to take on Ethan Page and Rusev. Now, I thought this was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams with Ethan Page and Rusev keeping the pace of the match. Dragon Lee hits a super kick on Rusev. Rey then follows it up by hitting a Hurricane Rana. Lee then hits a jumping knee strike, while Rey hits a 619 on Ethan Page, followed by a West Coast pop, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Hats off to Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we have a King of the Ring first round tournament matchup in the women's bracket. It is Io Sky taking on Roxanne Perez versus Lash Legend versus Julia. Now, I thought this was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup with Io keeping the pace of the match. Julia hits a running knee for a near fall. Lash then hits a lash extension on Roxanne Perez in the middle of the ring, followed by another lash extension on Julia. But Io Sky hits a moonsault out of nowhere, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and moving on in the King of the Ring tournament in the women's bracket, is Io Sky. Hats off to Io Sky for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we go into our main event of Monday Night Raw. It is Seth Rollins taking on the Vision's Braun Breaker. This is a glorified grudge match between Rollins and Breaker, but the match itself was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Rollins and Breaker, with Breaker trying to keep the pace of the match. Rollins hits a sling blade on Breaker, but Breaker sends Rollins over the barricade. Breaker then hits a flying elbow on the outside, followed by Breaker going for a press slam on Rollins, but Rollins counters it with an inverted DDT in the middle of the ring. Rollins then hits a running knee, but Breaker gets up, hits a Frankensteiner off the top rope on Rollins for a near fall. Breaker then goes for a lariat on Rollins off the apron, but Rollins counters it. Rollins then hits a super kick into a Falcon Arrow on Breaker for a near fall. Rollins follows it up by hitting a super kick, but Breaker gets up, hits a spear, taking out Rollins. Breaker then goes for a spear on Rollins, but Rollins counters it with a pedigree through the announce table. Rollins then throws Breaker in the middle of the ring. Rollins then quickly hits another pedigree on Breaker for a near fall. After this, Austin Theory is here, but Rollins attacks Theory. Heyman then causes a distraction. This allowed Theory to hit Rollins with the tag team title belt. After this, Montez Ford is here. Ford attacks Theory, and then Breaker on the outside hits a spear on Ford. Breaker then hits another spear on Rollins for a near fall, but Rollins gets up, hits his super kick on Braun Breaker. Rollins then follows it up by hitting a foot stomp, goes for the cover, but Heyman breaks the pinfall. Heyman then was on the outside yelling at Rollins, provoking Rollins. Breaker then goes for a spear on Rollins, but instead hits Paul Heyman, sending Heyman through the barricade. Breaker then goes for a spear, but Rollins was holding the tag team titles around his waist. This seemingly knocked out Braun Breaker. This allowed Rollins to hit a foot stomp on Breaker, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Seth Rollins. After the match, you can see doctors and WWE staff checking on Paul Heyman. So, as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned, man, before I get the hell up out of here, was it an okay show? Yeah, it was an okay show. I'm not going to sit here and completely shit on the show. We had the start of the King of the Ring tournament for the both men and the women. To be honest with you guys, I told you in my review that I did for Clash in Italy that I don't think I was really too keen on the Fatal 4-Way format for the King of the Ring tournament. But I got to be honest, man, I think the men's King of the Ring tournament matchup was really good. Obafemi, which we'll talk about here in a second, man, did a hell of a job in that matchup. Obviously facing three other individuals in that matchup and became victorious. And he's going to move on in the King of the Ring tournament. We had the Women's King of the Ring tournament as well. Io Sky was victorious in that matchup. She moves on in the Women's King of the Ring tournament. So, again, hats off to Io Sky. So I was impressed with the King of the Ring tournaments for both the men and the women. I want to talk about Obafemi as well quickly, man. Obafemi, first and foremost, Obafemi did a hell of a job in Clash in Italy. First and foremost. I know a lot of people didn't agree with the outcome of the match. Look, folks, I'm going to be honest. At the end of the day, this is setting up a third match between Oba and Lesnar taking place at SummerSlam. It'll be the third match in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the hometown of Brock Lesnar. I know other people were disappointed on the fact that, some people were pissed that Obafemi seemed like he was humanized in that matchup against Clash in Italy. Honestly, I don't think that's bad at all. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, this guy is a human. But he went through immense pain against Lesnar, man. He took multiple F5s in that matchup in Clash in Italy, and he just kept coming and coming and coming. His whole goal in that matchup, like he said, was to not only beat Brock Lesnar, but to kill him. And Obafemi tried to do everything in his power to destroy the beast, Brock Lesnar, but unfortunately he came up short and was not victorious. So, I don't mind, obviously Oba still has the mystique, man. Oba is a powerhouse, man. Oba is a guy that's going to carry this company on his back for the next 10, 15 years. I've said that since he debuted on the main roster. I think having Oba take a loss, I don't think it really affects Oba. I really don't, because now we know he took a loss. He can take other losses, and now WWE doesn't have to try to scramble on how to figure out how to have this guy take an L. To be honest with you, you kind of humanized him a little bit, but he still has that ruler gimmick. He still is immensely over with the WWE audience, man. So I don't think it affects Obafemi whatsoever. And not only that, yeah, he took that loss against Lesnar, but he just won a Fatal 4-Way in the King of the Ring tournament. Now, do I think Obafemi is going to win the King of the Ring tournament? I don't know. If I had to be a betting man, I would say that Lesnar might get involved here in a week or two in one of Obafemi's matches in the King of the Ring tournament where he cost Oba the King of the Ring crown and the King of the Ring tournament win, which ultimately takes Oba out of the King of the Ring, which ultimately sets up a third matchup here between Lesnar and Obafemi, most likely taking place at SummerSlam, hopefully. So it's great to see Oba. Again, the women's bracket, the women's tournament matchup was good as well. Hearing from Sol Ruca wants to continue being a fighting champion now that she's the newly crowned Women's Intercontinental Champion. Looks like she has her sights set on defending the title against Lyra Valkyria. There was a backstage segment where Lyra was kind of shooting her shot for an opportunity at the Women's Intercontinental title, and looks like Sol Ruca is going to grant her that opportunity for the Women's Intercontinental title. So definitely looking forward to that matchup as well. And obviously the big elephant in the room to kick off the show, man. We hear from Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Now, if you guys watch Clash in Italy, Tribal Combat matchup, the stipulation of this matchup is if Fatu had lost that match, he would have to acknowledge his tribal chief. And unfortunately, Fatu came up short. And come Monday Night Raw, he had to acknowledge his tribal chief. So we have Fatu come out there. He gets face-to-face with Jey Uso. Jey Uso is trying to ruffle the feathers of the Samoan Werewolf. And Roman was waiting for Fatu to acknowledge him. And that's exactly what Jacob Fatu did. Fatu got on one knee, acknowledged the tribal chief, and now that Samoan Werewolf is no longer running wild and free on Monday Night Raw, now the Samoan Werewolf is now leashed by the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. I gave my review, if you guys go check out my review I did for Clash in Italy, my frustrations with the Bloodline. I'm going to be honest, man. Did I think that Fatu was going to beat Roman at Clash in Italy? No. But would it have been cool if he did beat Roman? Yeah, absolutely. Because it would have shook some shit up on Monday Night Raw that they need. To have this guy run wild, have Roman acknowledge somebody else as the tribal chief. That's game-changing shit right there. It gets a lot of intrigue and interest into Monday Night Raw. My other issue, and I said this in my review when I did my Clash in Italy review, is the fact that we are, entertaining an idea here with Roman Reigns and his bloodline taking on Solo and the MFTs, which that is a fucking disaster. I can't, the thing of it is, man, the bloodline situation should have been dead and gone after Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns for the Universal title. The bloodline thing should have been done and over with after that. There was no need anymore for the bloodline after that. I do believe that WWE, though, is trying to revamp this bloodline storyline 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever the hell you want to call it, thinking that fans are going to be intrigued with another bloodline storyline that's going to take us into SummerSlam this year. I'm not for it, man. I think at this point, it's trying to find enjoyment out of the bloodline situation at this point and at this juncture now and how far we come with the bloodline. you got a better chance of getting blood from a stone at this point, man. Seriously, I said this, and I want to say it again. The bloodline agenda, the bloodline theory, needs to be put on some kind of ship, and that ship being sent out to the goddamn middle of the ocean, and someone needs to blow that ship the hell up and let that damn boat sink to the bottom of the goddamn ocean floor. Because, bro, there's nothing at this point. If we're being honest, what else can the bloodline do to actually make it intriguing? The only thing that would make logical sense right now for people to be excited for the bloodline, once again, would be the addition of a Zilla Fatu. Or a new addition to the bloodline, for that matter. Whether it's with Solo and the MFTs, or whether it's with the bloodline with Roman and Fatu and the Usos. The only interest and intrigue that will get the fans excited is a new addition from Zilla Fatu. And that's just me being honest. I don't see how what we're doing right now with the bloodline remotely has anything entertaining or interesting about it at this point right now. I mean, Christ, bro, they're even contemplating entertaining the idea of running it back with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. There was a video that was online, that surfaced online, that Cody Rhodes was walking through the backstage area after Clash in Italy, and he bumped into none other than the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. And both Cody and Roman were staring at each other backstage, and both respectively walked off. But it looks like Roman has some unfinished business with Cody Rhodes as well. Which, I mean, bro, if this is where we're going into SummerSlam or trying to build up to next year's WrestleMania, man, you can miss me with that shit, bro. I'm done with the bloodline. It's over, man. And Fatu, bro, I praise Fatu so much, and I'm going to continue to praise Fatu because I still believe the guy is a monster. The guy is a beast. He's one of the best acquisitions that WWE has gotten in a very long time. But now the fact that you pretty much, I mean, according to Michael Cole, man, Michael Cole said it verbatim that they neutered Jacob Fatu. They neutered the Samoan Werewolf. And now that he is leashed by the tribal chief. I mean, it's like, dude, you can't be any more blunt than that. And the fact that you got this guy kneeling in the middle of the ring, he's, acknowledging the tribal chief. It's like, when I saw that, bro, I feel like this is rinse and fucking repeat, man. We need something different. We need some kind of change. And that's why, I didn't think Fatu was going to win, but it would have been cool as shit if Fatu beat Roman. And you had Fatu running roughshod on Monday Night Raw, causing utter chaos. And Roman has to acknowledge a new tribal chief in Jacob Fatu. It would have shook a lot of shit up on Monday Night Raw, where the bloodline situation, if there was to be one, another storyline for the bloodline, it would have a little bit more intrigue and interest in the new storyline with the bloodline now that Jacob Fatu is not only the new World Heavyweight Champion, but he's also the new tribal chief. So, but that also goes hand in hand with Triple H wanting to play it safe, and I just feel like it's ultimately biting WWE in the ass. I mean, if you look at Clash in Italy, I said this in my review, man, you call these events premium live events, PLEs. You had 2 matches on ESPN that were for free, and both those matches were for the WWE Championship and the Women's WWE title. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from the rest of the matches that were on the PLE itself, but you're charging people $30 if they don't have ESPN Unlimited to watch just 3 matches on an event that you call premium. So basically, looking at it from outside the box looking in, if you're not a fan or wanted to watch it just as a new fan, basically, you're paying $30, and it's like $10 per match, and you're getting 3 matches on something that WWE is calling a premium live event. I don't see how that's premium. And look, at the end of the day, I'm all for, quality over quantity. You know what I mean? I don't mind 5 or 6 matches that are pure quality, that makes sense, that have great storyline behind it. I mean, Christ, bro, look at what happened at AAA with the mass versus mass match, El Grande Americano and OG Americano. That match alone might go down as probably the match of the year at this point. Arguably right now, it probably is the match of the year so far. I would put that and Okada and Takeshita right there with that. Neck and neck. From Double or Nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not hard to comprehend, man. Some things, I understand. I'm a firm believer, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I've told you guys that before, and I'll say that to the end of time, man, until I'm pushing up daisies and I'm dead in the ground. But sometimes going back to try to revamp a storyline that just people are just sick and tired of and just done, and try to make it relevant now, That's not turning chicken shit into chicken salad, man. That's turning chicken shit back to, or chicken salad back to chicken shit. You know what I mean? That's trying to shine, like, it's stupid, bro. It doesn't make sense. Seriously, it's like seeing a chandelier in a haunted house, man. It doesn't make sense. We don't need it. We do not need it. And as far as Fatu is concerned, man, I don't know where we go from here. There could be something on the lines where maybe Fatu is playing it safe right now and then realigning himself with Solo Sikoa, causing some chaos here in a rift between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, which ultimately might cause another bloodline war between the family, which, again, nobody wants to fucking see, man. It's gotten old. It's lackadaisical. Again, I told you guys, man, that bloodline shit should have been well past done after Cody beat Roman and Cody finished his story. I don't know why we're continuing this bloodline shit over and over and over again. It's lackadaisical booking, it's lazy, and nobody really genuinely gives a shit about the bloodline really anymore. And if you do, the only people that care about the bloodline are people that are fans of Roman Reigns, man. That's it. They don't give a shit about the bloodline. They care about Roman. Roman doesn't need to be this. We don't need to run it back with the bloodline. Roman can be World Heavyweight Champion on his own as his own individual, as the tribal chief. We don't need to run back a storyline to try to revamp a bloodline storyline that should have been dead in the water after Cody beat Roman at WrestleMania. It's lackadaisical booking. It's lazy as hell, man, and nobody wants to see Roman and the bloodline go up against Solo Sikoa and the MFTs, man. Honestly, I'm surprised Solo made the budget cuts at this point. Solo ain't doing shit on SmackDown, bro. You were beefing with the Wyatt Six for so long, and it's kind of funny how that entire Wyatt Six stable literally got released. I feel like Solo Sikoa is lucky to have a job, and I think one of the reasons why he has a job right now is because he's a part of that bloodline. People could say, oh, what about, Tonga Loa? Tonga Loa might be in a different situation. I don't know. I'm not saying he's not part of that bloodline, but I don't know why. Hell, I look back on that too. I don't know why the hell he was released and they still kept Tama Tonga. Those guys are brothers. So I don't know what the hell that was about, but it's not like they're doing a lot of shit with Tama Tonga either. Last time I checked, he was beefing with Shinsuke Nakamura. And again, Nakamura is another guy that I'm surprised has not made the budget cut list yet. Honestly, I thought when they made the releases this year around, I thought Nakamura might have been on that list. They weren't doing shit with Nakamura, man. Nakamura was a legend in catering because they weren't even using that guy was in catering for a very long time, and he wasn't doing a goddamn thing. So, yeah, I was surprised Nakamura made the budget cuts, to be honest with you. But like I said, man, at the end of the day, Raw wasn't terrible. We got the start of the men's and women's King of the Ring tournaments. That kicked off Monday Night Raw as well. We hear from the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns, and we finally get Fatu acknowledging the Tribal Chief. And we get Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker, which, again, was a great match. And I would say that matchup was a lot better than the match I believe they had at Backlash, to be honest with you. Rollins and Breaker put on one hell of a match last night for Monday Night Raw, hands down. But with that being said, though, this is my review of Monday Night Raw. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.